Hello friends, all who are listening. This is Lenny Izzo in the ongoing series of Getting to the Point, and today is July 28th. I am transmitting from Huntington, New York in the wonderful space of Center Point, my office, inside this room, which is a great space. I've been here for 33 years. We consider it a sacred space, and today I am compelled to offer the third, actually, in an ongoing series of Getting to the Point. But I've made 3 videos in the last 3 days, starting with July 26th, 27th, and this is the 28th. And I've been talking about the Mayan calendar, the great galactic synchronization beam that's coming from the core of our galaxy. This wave which is seeking to bring into harmony this world and the realm of human consciousness, each individual and the collective, and raise the awareness, I guess is one way to say it, raise the awareness of what it is that we are really here to do together. And to raise that awareness, it pushes on the realms of consciousness that have not been aware, those unconscious aspects of myself or of the community or of my society, of my legacy. Yeah, we can push on the unconscious states that I have been born through, that I have inherited by becoming more conscious today. We understand that dynamic because of the understanding, the greater awareness of quantum reality, that there is no past and there is no future. There's only now, and through the now we have access to both the past and the future. So the greater force that's coming from the center of this galaxy, as far as it has been determined by the Mayans and many other civilizations, it just so happens that there is a reawakening of Mayan thought and Mayan science and the spiritual technology that the Mayans brought, and it's no accident. As I said in my last video, I've been consciously tracking this phase since the harmonic convergence back in the late 80s. And what ended on the 24th of July was the end cycle that was initiated 26 years ago. And it's a 26-year cycle. It's the snippet, the end point of that 5,200-year cycle that came to a conclusion. And the transition is a transition into another frequency that is coming from some spiritual eminence, if you believe in that. The galactic design aligned with the solar design, aligned with the planetary design, aligned with every human design who inhabits the planet, is one design. It's one unified field. And the change in frequency is being challenged to be defined through each individual. How do I define a greater principle in my world? Well, I define it through my living, simply put. Not always easily translated, however, because of the past and because of the mindsets and the trappings and because of how we have created ourselves and our culture based on an outdated frequency, I guess you could say. So the new world, the new dawn, is about evolution, about change. And if you're like me, and if you're like the hundreds of people, if not thousands of people I've worked with over the last 26 years, actually about 34 years, because I was conscious of what we're talking about right now long before the mid-'80s. I had the privilege of waking up to a larger design of things back in '78, back when I was in chiropractic school. And that was just part of my journey. So on July 24th, one cycle ends in linear time. July 25th, which I mentioned happens to be, my birth date, and there are many others that share that same birth date, is this day out of time, and then the 26th initiates a whole new cycle. And then the 27th, and here we are on the 28th, just 3 days into the new Mayan calendar. The Mayan calendar is an amazing piece of technology, and if any of you out there listening, and I know some people are listening because I've gotten some responses from both of you, I'll talk about those comments and that feedback in a little bit, but if any of you are listening and you would like your galactic signature, what's a galactic signature? Well, galactic signature is your day of birth, and the essences and the frequencies that relate to your soul's incarnation. And the Mayans, one of the things they did was they were able to align a galactic frequency, a galactic message, a galactic information with a solar frequency, solar message, and how we go from above down, inside out, how we go from above and below, as above, so below. So how the frequency of our greater spiritual inheritance is transmitted through each person to help define of who you are. Who you are, who are you? Who am I? Why are you here? Why am I here? What are you here to do? What am I here to do? That is a message or a question or an impulse that I observe is being forced to awareness in people differently than the generation I came from, my parents' generation. They weren't asking the same questions. Questions were, how do I, create my security for myself and my family? How do we protect ourselves from those evil people out there? The ones who want to take our territory, the ones who want to threaten us. How do I survive? And in that, it was a very different generation. In some ways, a happier generation. A simpler generation. Life is much more complex. Because I am much more complex than my pop, in some ways. We are more complex. Not necessarily because we are a different species. We are more complex because our species has evolved to a greater dimensional state in which there is more access to who we are as multidimensional planetary citizens, solar and galactic citizens. Our world is more complex, and the challenge of change that is being forced upon us, forced upon me, not by a tyrannical hierarchy outside myself, but more by or through a spiritual impulse from inside myself that is saying, rise up. Change your circumstances. Transform your life and live in accordance with the harmonic resonance of today. And what that means for you is your journey, is the path of the spiritual warrior to discover that. What it means for you, not what it means for what has been given to you, the belief system, the inheritance of lifestyle and thought form, the box that you've managed from. And it could be a very secure box and a very lovely one. You show me yours, I'll show you mine. The directive of today coming from this alignment that I've been speaking about, this galactic synchronization being from the core of our galaxy, the Hunab Ku, which brings all measure and movement of life, our spiritual heart, which is centered in our core, galactic core, solar core, planetary core, human core, solar plexus. There's always a center point to every creative design that gives birth to a creation. So the question of the day, the questions of the day are, or is, what are you creating? What do you want to create? What do you will to create? What is it you are here to create? And who are you here with to create that frequency? Who are you here with to create the world anew? Just to go outside of ourselves, it's not a new concept. It's not a new journey. And yet today, the challenge to get outside of personal circumstances. I was talking to a medical doctor. I was training him. He was in Atlanta, Georgia this morning. And I was training him in the technology of bioresonance therapy. It's one of the things I do. I've always been ahead of the curve. I would say not even because of my choice, because that's been my directive. Always look to towards what was coming. And I've always been involved in energy medicine. As I said yesterday or the day before, all energy medicine, all energy healing, all energy is an emanation of the core of our galaxy, which gives measure and movement to the core of our solar system, which gives measure and movement to the core of our planetary system, which gives measure and movement to each of us individually. Therefore, the health paradigm that's changing has to come back to nature. And we're not doing a very good job at that. The educational system that's looking to change has to come back to a greater natural structure and foundation of what is really being taught and what is the purpose of education. I don't believe it's to teach people how to be better in this world. The core of education, the core of all education, must be in alignment with the spiritual principles of who we are and draw forth. That's what education really means, is to draw forth who it is that is here. Healthcare has to move into alignment with the principles of this alignment between the greater systems that govern our world, the greater principle that govern our world. And healthcare is about drawing out of us the clear code that is life's code, which is a code of regeneration, not degeneration. Very simple. And in this transmission, I'm not going to get into the complexities, but I was talking to to Dr. Dave down in Atlanta, and he's been in practice not quite as long as I have, but certainly I think maybe over 20 years. And we both agreed it is harder today than it was when we started. What does that mean? You know, aren't we supposed to be getting better at what we do? And we both agree that it is more difficult, it appears, at least in our dialogue, and maybe we're just supporting each other's weaknesses, could be. We both agreed that the care of individuals today, from a singular doctor point of view, is very difficult. And I have recognized for years that it's almost impossible for one doc to take care of one person, because it is about community. It's about community. It's about the tribe. It's about the relationship of the many to the one. And the structures of today are still so much about an old paradigm, an old frequency. So we were going outside of our conceptual box and saying, you know, how do a group of doctors who are working with a technology that's probably 20 years ahead of its time bring this to all of our people together? You know, we're kind of stretching and looking to push the boundaries of our own belief systems, rather than just working one person at a time, and that one person. And what is making it so difficult is what we're acknowledging is how stuck people are in this conventional paradigm. And that's the point I made and getting to the point. And here we are in 1980, I opened up the Huntington Chiropractic and Wellness Center, and people would come in and ask me, what does wellness mean? Why do you have it on your card? And here we are 33 years later. And people aren't asking that question because there's some conceptual awareness of wellness, of what wellness is. But the practice of wellness is not too much further along. We still live in a reactive society. And that reaction is resistance to change. That's basically what it is. It's resistance to change. And so, if I were to utilize this transmission as a conclusion to the fourth video on follow-through with weight loss, and this might be it. I'll have to see. Or I might just make another one that's specific for weight loss. But the issues of weight loss and the issues of any change, the issues of health, have a common denominator that relates to an underlying realm of cause that is all the same. I could take 10 people that have different symptoms, and the underlying causative factors that's manifesting through the different diagnoses: obesity, metabolic issues, blood sugar, autoimmune disease, digestive, migraine headaches. And let's transition to psychological issues, bipolar, anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, learning disabilities. Let's transition to spiritual. And it's all the same underlying or internal dynamics. It's a disconnect from our natural code as human beings. And the pressure coming from the core is simply an invitation to reconnect. And how I reconnect today, and you reconnect today, is different than how our parents did it. It's different than the previous generation. And what is required to be discovered are the new ways to stay connected to the evolvement and the uplifting of human consciousness. Some things don't change. How do we do it? We do it through communication. We do it through communion. We do it through connection. And if you really look out into the world, the polarity between connection and disconnection is probably the greatest that I've seen it. It's probably the greatest. The pressure between trying to stay connected or staying in the process of connection, connection to yourself, connection to your core, connection to a purpose, connection to a meaning, connection to a life's path that is alive and that brings passion and change and joy and challenge. If you're not challenged today, I would wonder what world you're in. If you're not challenged by something today, I would wonder either you're asleep or I want to come to your next workshop and find out how you're doing it. Send me your website. I want to be your disciple if you're not challenged today. Because if any are bound, none are free. If any are bound, none are free. So as soon as we are free in whatever circumstance we are working to be free through, that should bring greater movement and measure through us to help turn and free someone else, to act according to a greater purpose, which is about other people, not just myself, to be a community. So if we're not working consciously to stay connected and to help or empower, better word than help, cancel clear that, empower myself and my tribe and our greater tribes and onward and outward to stay connected, then I'm working to stay disconnected. And the work of disconnection is an unconscious state. And in that unconscious state, there will be isolation. And in isolation, there will be separation. And in separation, there will be fear. And in fear, there will be distrust. And in distrust, there will be disconnection. And in that disconnection, there will be pain. And in that pain, there will be suffering. And in that suffering, there will be helplessness. And in that helplessness, if it turns to hopelessness, it is the disconnect that separates. We ask and wonder, where are all these suicides coming from our younger generation? Trying to figure it out through the psychological mind? Let's analyze this. What's going on here? Let's give more medication. Or else the disconnect comes from the body, where the body says, I cannot handle any more toxicity from this environment. Do you realize, if you're still listening, that we have created an environment that we can no longer live in? It's taken about 100 years of industrialized revolution, the industrialized industry, where we rape the environment for our own purposes. Yes, and that's the word I used. We abuse the environment for our own purposes. And what we've created is a disposal of our own toxicity manifested through artificial molecules that we've created with the purpose of advancing ourselves. But we are not advancing ourselves. We are advancing a corporate cause, which is not based in a higher principle. The food manufacturing companies are not based in a higher principle. The pharmaceutical companies are not based in a higher principle. The chemical-based companies that pollute our world and our children and our bodies are not based on a higher principle. Wake up! Wake up, friends. And if you don't want to hear the message, turn me off. That's okay. That's your prerogative. So we have created an environment we can no longer live in. And friends, that environment is now living in me, in us. And this is the basis of all disease. The basis of all disease. Not the only component, but a central one. You want to talk about autoimmune disease? Let's talk about toxicity. And then there are levels of toxicity. You want to talk about inflammation and how it is the main common denominator for all physical maladies and diseases today? Let's talk about it. Not now. So the disconnect, the pressure of staying disconnected, and the pressure which is compelling us to get connected again, is greater than I've seen it and felt it in my conscious lifetime. My conscious lifetime. Because you can stay unconscious and not feel much pressure at all. And that's fine. I do not judge who and what that is about. For me, my path, for my family, my friends, my relationships, all my relationships, my work has always been about, and yet it is different, and this is why I'm sitting here with this transmission. It is about being free from the disconnect. It is about empowering. For as long as I'm here to do it, I often said, even at the beginning of my career, I had the instinct, I won't stop doing it. I'm not looking for retirement. Oh my gosh, I'll talk about that one at some point. What the men in our culture have been programmed to do. I love and would love to just talk to the men. Eldership. What we do with our elders. We put them out to pasture and they graciously go. Loss of meaning. Not everyone, but a majority. So the message of the day is to welcome your pressure. Either the pressure that is unconscious, that is seeking to keep you disconnected from your source, from your work, from your will, from your way to evolve. Or the pressure to stay connected. The challenge to stay conscious, to keep the edge within yourself, within your work, within your world, within your heart. To keep the edge of hope, not hopelessness. To keep the edge of help, not helplessness. To keep the edge of power, not disempowerment. To keep the edge of evolution, not of dissolving into isolation. but to keep the edge, that we are at this crossover point. We are in a new time and a new frequency. And it is a time and frequency that has been spoken about by so many, and so many of us are speaking the same message. The relationship between the many and the one. I carry around this coin, which I picked up from my brother, the Colonel, who is on the other side now. And it is a symbol and a coin of the 3rd Brigade, 82nd Airborne. He was a special ops ranger, as well as an amazing person. But the message is, nothing is dearer than life, but nothing is more precious than to live it in freedom. And the old paradigm, which is still with us, is that we need to fight for our freedom and protect ourselves. And I would not be naive enough to say that that's not still necessary. And it is not the new paradigm. The new paradigm is true spiritual freedom, freedom from within. Freedom to be who we came here to be, individually and collectively. And yeah, there is a war going on. There is still a battle to be met. And that battle in consciousness is the path of the spiritual warrior. The path that will bring the greatest challenge and the greatest battle, which is that battle within. Those demons and devils from within. Those energies, those belief systems, those forces. And you will meet that battle. You will meet it. If you're here and connected, you will need to meet it consciously. If you're here and disconnected, you'll meet it unconsciously, and it will meet you. It will call to you in some form of crisis. So it makes sense to me to wake up, welcome the pressure of change, welcome the pressure when it comes. Don't disconnect, stay connected, and do the work. And get the support that you need. I need support to stay on this path. And I offer support to stay on this path. And that is the basis and meaning and purpose and value of these transmissions. So this is Lenny Izzo on July 28th saying, let's get to the point, let's stay on point. Bless you in your journey. If any are bound, none are free. And thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.